Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank Professor Javier for setting the tone for the discussion. One way I completely agree. There is issues with higher education, and which I would also reiterate. But I have a lot of hope with some different aspects. We can recover the loss what recently we have made. Let me first thank the organizer for organizing a wonderful summit and at least bringing academics, industry, and government together. And I'm sure 2 days there'll be a lot of discussions which will be useful up to some extent. I'll take about 5 to 7 minutes with permission from chair and try to cover 3 aspects of management education. I'll begin from the Indian industry and then get into higher education and then conclude with the management education. As we all have witnessed, the Indian economy has an impressive growth for the last 2 decades, ranging between 6 to 9% of GDP. And this is a result of liberalization initiative taken by Government of India in 1990s, and that has paid off. And as a result, India has emerged to become an important global economic power as well as a preferred destination for locating innovation and R&D centers by many multinational corporations. The global firms are using 3 strategies to source innovation and R&D in India. The first, they are relocating their innovation center directly in India. Many examples are like Google, and you have Microsoft, many firms who have set up their own captive R&D centers in many cities in India. Many of the companies are also having outsourcing their innovations to Indian research organizations, Mahindra, for example, for automobiles, and many others. And also acquiring a lot of entrepreneurial firms from Indian origin. And as a matter of record, about 415 patents from India have been filed during last 15 years by these MNCs, which is, I would say, is one good development because of opening up our economy. However, in terms of 2 very important parameters, that is, in terms of domestic R&D spending and distribution of R&D effort, India is still in a very early innovation stage. If you want to understand R&D in India, it is about 1% of our GDP we spend as compared to 2% in China and 2.5% in developed part of the world like US and Europe. And that too, 75 to 80% of this R&D, domestic R&D, is conducted by government labs, and about 20 to 25% by private firms, and just 3% by Indian universities. In contrast, average R&D expenditure in OECD countries are by 69% by the private firms, and 18% by the universities, and just 13% by the government. So that is one matter of concern, that how much, I would say that government has done a great job in India in terms of promoting R&D by investing maximum, but the contribution of industry and universities has been very, very low. And most of this research and innovations in India are based out of the borrowed models from Western countries. And it is feared that it may have negated the requirement and participation of majority of Indian population in rural and social sector. Now coming to Indian higher education. So that was about industry. Indian higher education system, which is the 3rd largest in the world after China and US. In fact, China has become number 1 now, and has been playing a very significant role in strengthening not only the Indian economy but also the world economy, as Indian engineers, scientists, and managers are most sought after across the world. The secret behind the success of Indian IT industry is nothing but the quality and quantity of Indian engineering education. However, India's system of higher education, including that of management education, suffers from many limitations. One limitation we all know is our gross enrollment ratio has been struggling between 13 to 16 or 18%, is against the target of government 30%. Most of the top-ranked universities and institutes attract world-class students in India, but do not figure in the top 100 ranked in the global ranking. Indian university has excelled in theoretical research in basic science and in literature, but do not so in applied research in engineering and management. And there was a study conducted by London Business School about in 2010, that in 10 years, the number of publications appeared in the Financial Times journals, that is 45 top journals, is 133, which comes about 7 papers per year. Whereas there is a single university in Hong Kong which produces 8 papers per year, and there is a single professor in US which produces 8 papers per year. Okay. So that is the kind of comparison we have in terms of quality publication, I mean, which are accepted internationally by the ranking organizations. Now talk about the management educations, because that is the main theme of this session. The management education, is very interesting. Like when we joined management institutions, we were asked and told that you have to teach case in the class. Okay. So case method we learned. We never learned before that, of course. And case method was propagated by Harvard Business School long back. And this case method was basically focusing on companies around the world who has performed in terms of profit and strategy. And therefore, we all discuss how to maximize the profit for a companies. And then we end up producing salespersons who joins many companies, and every quarter he has to produce those numbers. And that is where has been the management educations for many years, even in India. Recently, I was with my friend Deepak Jain, who headed Kellogg, and then he was heading INSEAD. So we are conducting a CIO workshop in Asia, and about 60 CIOs we invited in Bali, and I was just sharing, and I was actually trying to learn how in top business school in US and Europe conduct class in pedagogy. And I was surprised to know that he said, we do not use case method. And we stopped case method 20 years back. And I say, why? He said, case method is basically become no relevant because it talks about past practices. Okay. Whereas in the company we are today in competitive age, we have to talk about innovative and future practices. So how do students learn about the future and innovative practices? After coming back from the workshop, I tried to understand, and I visited China along with my industry participant, because I consult for about 12 Indian power companies, because they're in the real mess. So as a consultant, I took some of the industry delegates to China, and we tried to understand that how China is doing. So we visited their Eastern Grid in Shanghai. And then I also read a book by Friedman, which he wrote in 1962, where he talked about a very famous statement which also appeared in New York Times. The precondition of successful corporate social responsibility is to make profit for business. And that has changed understanding about the management education to me. Earlier, the focus of business management or management education was create corporations which will be for profit. But today's world, the focus is create social organizations, corporate social responsible organizations whose objective is to make profit. And the unit of analysis earlier used to be corporations, the CEOs. But today's, with this aspects, the unit of analysis is a citizen. That you have to make sure that every citizen gets benefit out of the business or CSR business a corporation does. Now, so there are two models. One model which came from MNCs earlier, which was focusing on profits from business. And now we're talking about CSR, which is making profit for business. And then I was really wondering how China, as a communist country, are doing so well. And then I learned that actually they have applied Friedman theory. That as a communist country, Your objective is to make profit for business and take care of the entire citizen.
Professor Jaiswal, you have one more minute.
Oh, sure, thank you. I'm just concluding that. We have also seen in India that public sector and government sector for many years actually have been doing the same. That they were basically CSR organizations, but today they have become more relevant because if they are able to make profit for their CSR, I'm sure that will be a real success model. Now we have to conflict between whether to maximize the profit for a large corporations whose basic objective is to make profit, or to make sure that the large CSR-based organizations who are created by individual and innovative entrepreneurs, and they are able to generate profit and take care of the entire social inequalities. And therefore, if you see the economy, government, and society, and I feel in India, all three are in crossroad. As we can see, everyday street protest. It means we have failed in governance, we have failed in gender, we have failed in police, we have failed in many aspects. And where is Management Institute? What for they are doing? Are they really still doing case studies of those companies who are still struggling and competing for profit? Or we have a larger role where everybody can appreciate, and then the crowd here can also increase when you talk about individual citizens. So I'm sure management education would become more innovative and proactive and not become crossroad itself. Thank you very much.